Hi parents, my name is Paul and I am a remarkable teacher who can make a huge difference to your child's future, because I'm willing to bet that you are concerned about their academic present, their academic future, and how that eventually translates to their overall future in life. Now, let me give you a bit of my background and tell you that I believe that humans fundamentally love learning. Now, you might say, not my child, but I totally relate to not loving learning in the classroom, because that's a really odd kind of context. It's a very abnormal setting in which to learn. If you take my story, I was a dreadful high school student. I failed many subjects, including once getting negative 5% for accounting, and things only changed for me once I started studying psychology and learning how the human brain works. I then changed my study system to adopt different techniques based on how the human brain likes to learn, and I literally jumped up to straight distinctions, many scholarships, and eventually I went off and qualified at the University of Oxford as a psychologist. So what on earth explains me going from an academic zero to an academic hero? It was learning in the right way. So it's a little bit like having a Ferrari but not having the key. You need to be given the key in order to utilize that amazing vehicle that you've got, and it's the same with your brain. So I run a course called Easy Cheetah, and that teaches your child how they can perform better academically. I have literally taught people who've gone on to win the Rhodes Scholarship and study at Oxford, etc., many of the best universities in the world, in fact. Now, I teach lots of skills. They include things like stress reduction and how to write a better essay, how to improve your maths mark, how to perform better in exams with effective exam strategy. But let me cut to the chase. The two things that people really want to pay me for is, one, I teach students how to read very rapidly. This is sometimes described as speed reading. And I also teach people how they can use their memory, because almost everyone has got a near photographic memory. The problem is there's a real disconnect between how memory normally functions in life and how it's supposed to function when you're given a textbook. You just have to be shown how to bridge that gap. So I've asked my cameraman to bring me a book which I've never seen before. This is purely for you to get a sense of what speed reading is like. It won't take too long because y'all have lives. And I guarantee you I've never seen this book before. And if you think that I'm talking nonsense, I've been watched by thousands of students around the world speed reading, so I've got an awful lot of witnesses that can say that I'm not lying. But nonetheless, let's give it a go. And this is not a book I've seen before. Okay. Ooh. My cameraman is very naughty. Okay, sorry, now I'm actually just getting interested, so I better stop, because this is interesting. Okay, brilliant. So okay, let me stop now, otherwise I'm not going to finish. This is based on work by Isaiah Berlin, who is a philosopher interested in the idea of liberty and freedom, and it was based on lectures which he delivered in Oxford in 1958. That's why I say my cameraman was naughty, because he clearly gave me an Oxford reference. And essentially, it describes freedom as consisting of two different halves. The one is freedom to, and the other is freedom from, or, as Berlin describes it, negative and positive freedom. So negative freedom being the idea of how can I not have something I don't want. So for instance, at the moment, how can I not have COVID kind of thing? Please keep me safe. I'd like to be free from death. On the other hand, you have positive freedom, and positive freedom relates to a freedom to. So for instance, but I would like to go and get my takeaway from the restaurant, thank you very much. Or maybe I'd like to go to the opera. But can I balance those two things? It's very interesting, because I didn't realize this, but Berlin actually equates a Judeo-Christian ethic with the idea of negative freedom, and often the idea of being free of things that we don't like because we regard them as bad. And so you can apply that to sin and to self-deprivation, etc., for the sake of being godly. But he kind of gives that input. But what you need to get is that Isaiah Berlin in 1958 in Oxford put forward this very influential idea of how freedom can be categorized, broadly speaking, into negative and positive freedom, and how negative freedom relates to a freedom from stuff, whereas positive freedom relates to a freedom to do whatever you would like, and how society is based on an essential tension between those two things. So that's an example of speed reading, and in case you're thinking I'm talking nonsense, I absolutely guarantee you I have never seen this before in my life. That is the first time that I've ever seen those, and it's very interesting, so I'll have to look into that a little bit more. So that is a life-changing thing, because being able to get through work at the speed of thought instead of at the speed of words, because that's the difference between speed reading and normal reading. In normal reading, we are slavishly paying attention to each and every word and then assembling the thought afterwards, whereas speed reading teaches you how to read the thought immediately. So that gives you some sense that speed reading is only the second most important thing I teach. Memory is more important, because being able to remember the content removes this huge obstacle to success that a lot of students have. So I teach an awful lot of things, but that is really some of what can change your student's life. Now, I'm not a tutor. Please don't think of it that way. Imagine that I am not an Uber driver, but I'm a driving instructor. I don't just take your student from here to there with a certain subject. I show them how they can take themselves from here to there, to there, to there, to there, to there, using the abilities that they have got. That's my passion, being able to allow your child to realize that they are almost certainly smarter than they currently think that they are, so that I can open their future for them. Now, I'm going to attach two other videos. The one, I think that you'll like this, is, if you'll indulge me, I will give you a very short memory lesson. It's only going to take a few minutes, but I think you'd be amazed to hear that in less than a minute, I can input into your brain the diagram of the brain with its various structures and substructures in a way that you remember perfectly. So it's no longer going over things 1,100 times trying to remember it. Very briefly, if you use your memory properly, you'll be able to remember something quite complex. So that's what the one video is. And the other one is explaining Easy Cheetah and how we have put it on a platform called teachable.com, by which you can access not only the text of the course but videos as well and interact with us. We have a means by which you can message us and we can provide support for you on a regular basis so that you can learn all of the things which are linked to the academic success which I had, so that you can access it yourself. Thank you so much for the time. I really hope that you do watch the other videos, and I hope to be a part of your academic success.